Everybody, welcome back to the GEMS podcast. Mike Brown here, joined with Bill Hallinan. He's going to tell us a little bit about himself and about the class that he's teaching at FDIC coming up in April. Bill, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Mike. I'm really excited to be at FDIC this year teaching. My background is I've been a paramedic in New York State, retired now for 25 years, past chief fire officer, critical care nurse, flight nurse, director of artificial heart programs, trauma program manager. Currently, I'm a captain up here in the Spencerport Fire District in upstate New York, outside Rochester and Monroe County. What I'm really excited to bring to the EMS and pre-hospital community is a class called Cardiogenic Shock, the pre-hospital provider's role in improving outcomes and saving lives. And for a lot of us that have been doing EMS for years, we may not really understand that the outcomes for pre-hospital cardiogenic shock and in-hospital cardiogenic shock, heart failure, pump failure patients are not well. More than 50% of these patients generally do not survive their hospital stay. And we may say, well, that's a heavy lift for the hospital. Well, what's the pre-hospital provider's role in knowing what we can do to improve outcomes for these patients? And up till recently, there hasn't been a role because there hasn't been evidence to say, what makes a difference. But we're going to be able to present this April at FDIC some really impactful randomized clinical studies that talk about the impact of time, new therapies, and how teams around the care of these patients can make a difference. So for a lot of us, we may think, well, we learn in our basic or advanced EMS training that, heart failure is a chronic condition. For someone who might be thinking as an acute coronary syndrome, we put the STEMI indicator device on them and it tells us if they're having a heart attack, and we get to bypass the ED and we're happy about it. Or for the patient that has sudden cardiac death, we're just happy we can present them to the hospital with some rhythm and some blood pressure, and hopefully our airway and our vascular access is still intact. And we don't think about that patient actually being a cardiogenic shock or heart failure patient. But a lot of this is now going to change for all the pre-hospital providers that are out there. So we're looking at systems, and systems are growing in the communities that firefighters and medics are going to go back to really mimic what we see in stroke and in trauma and in STEMI and in sepsis, where we have, as pre-hospital providers, a really important role for identifying those patients, getting the right resources to them at the right time, communicating the findings that we discover both in their history and their current conditions, and identifying them to the hospital so they get treated promptly. And when we do this, when teams are now armed with this knowledge, we not only can prevent them from succumbing to the death of heart failure, but we can also impact whether or not they rearrest and may have a brain injury that changes who they are, whether or not they stay in shock so long that they will require dialysis because their kidneys failed, for example. And so this is something that's going to be very impactful in EMS over the next decade as to how we roll this out and how we really mimic our role as pre-hospital providers to identify these patients. And for all the firefighters and EMS providers out there, there are really other reasons we should pay attention to this. The likelihood that we're going to have a family member that develops heart failure is probably pretty high. And the other thing is we still lose way too many firefighters, way too many pre-hospital medics to sudden cardiac death, to heart failure, way above and beyond what we see in the general population. So this is a topic that I think we'll be finding to become very important in the future. And hopefully this talk at FDIC is going to be a launching pad for everybody to bring home information back to their communities.
Yeah, I'm so excited. When I was reading your proposal for the talk, it was really speaking to me, and just to have this level of evidence-based medicine brought to FDIC and to GEMS, with my EMS fire and critical care background, it's really speaking a lot to some of the things that I think we can do to improve upon what we provide as EMS providers in the pre-hospital setting, because there are a lot of interventions that we can do that matter. And that's why I'm so excited about this talk to really give the attendees something to take home, something to have intentional conversations with their medical directors, and perhaps be able to drive some real actionable change in what we can do for these sick patients that we're encountering. So my hat's off to you. I'm excited for your class. Yeah, I can't wait for April. As I've been recording these short videos, like all the instructors are just getting me just pumped up. So I can't wait.
No, we're looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great conversation, and you hit that right on the head, right? There's so much that, the bar is out there, and we have to put that bar out there for this next generation of providers to think about what are the things that I need to go back and think about, right? We can do pre-hospital lactate. We can do pre-hospital POCUS, right? We can activate these shock teams as pre-hospital providers. And, we oftentimes don't get these opportunities in EMS to change and really be the catalyst for this next evolution of care for a group of patients that generally have done really poor. And so hopefully this will be a launching pad at FDIC and GEMS to really catapult this into some great activities throughout the country.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like your classroom session would pair really well for someone who chose to take our point of care ultrasound pre-conference offering that we have this year. So maybe somebody, some of the folks that take the POCUS class can come sit in on your cardiogenic shock lecture later on in the week. So we
Now,
really we've built a full week of heavy EMS content for those that are seeking it. So I'm excited for 26, and just can't wait to see everybody in Indy.
yeah, no, look forward to seeing it. Look forward to seeing you there, and I think we're going to have a great week.
Yeah, I can't wait. Thanks a lot, Bill. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike.